Grand Admiral Zarthok's fourth stomach churned as he stared at the tactical display, his scales rippling with involuntary anxiety. The symbols on the holographic screen couldn't be real. They simply couldn't. "Run the diagnostics again," he commanded, his voice carrying the authoritative rasp that had intimidated subordinates across 100 worlds. There must be an error in the sensor array. His sensor chief, a nervous Valkyrian named Plix, tapped frantically at his console. His eye stalks drooped with each passing second. "Admiral, I've run diagnostics 17 times. The readings are accurate." "Those are human vessels." "Impossible." Zarthok slammed his clawed hand against the command throne's armrest. "Humans don't have capital ships. They barely have fusion drives. Intelligence classified them as a pre-warp species just 15 cycles ago." "14 cycles, sir," Plix corrected meekly, then immediately regretted it as the Admiral's predatory gaze fixed on him. The Valerian Empire had ruled this sector of the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had perfected the art of subjugation, crushing upstart species before they could pose a threat. The humans of Earth had been identified, catalogued, and scheduled for integration, the Empire's polite term for conquest, in another 50 cycles, once their population had grown sufficiently to provide adequate labor. But humans, it seemed, had other plans. "Magnify Sector 7, Zarthok ordered, his voice tight. The main view screen flickered, and the bridge fell silent. Even the usual hum of background chatter died as every crew member turned to look. The human ship dominated the display. It was enormous, easily twice the size of the Empire's largest dreadnought. But size wasn't what made Zarthok's blood run cold. It was the design. Where Valerian ships were bulky, reinforced with heavy armor plating from centuries-old metallurgy, this vessel was elegant. Streamlined. Its hull seemed to shimmer with an energy field that Zarthok's sensors couldn't properly classify. "What in the void is that?" whispered Commander Thrall, the tactical officer. "Unknown energy signature around the hull," Plix reported, his voice trembling. It's not shielding, sir. Not as we understand it. The energy appears to be phased somehow, existing partially outside normal spacetime." Zarthok felt his confidence crumbling. "Weapons? We count at least 40 primary weapons batteries, but sir." Plix paused, his eye stalks retracting in distress. "We can't identify the weapon type. They don't match any known technology in our database. No plasma cannons, no missile tubes, no kinetic batteries. Just apertures that our analysis suggests could output energy levels that exceed our theoretical maximum by a factor of 20. 20? Thrall's voice cracked. "That's not possible. The power requirements alone would." "There are 7 more ships behind it," Plix interrupted, his voice barely above a whisper. The view screen pulled back, revealing the rest of the human fleet. Each vessel was different, clearly designed for specific roles, but all shared that same impossible elegance, that same shimmer of incomprehensible technology. Zarthok's mind raced. 15 cycles ago, humans had been launching crude chemical rockets to their own moon. The Empire's scouts had laughed at their primitive attempts at space exploration. The intelligence reports had been clear: humanity was fractured, constantly warring among themselves, centuries away from unified space travel. What had changed? "Sir, we're being hailed," the communications officer announced. On screen, the display shifted to show a human female in a crisp military uniform. She appeared young by human standards, though Zarthok knew their lifespans were frustratingly brief. What struck him, however, was her expression: calm, confident, almost amused. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UTSS Endeavour," she said in perfect Valerian standard, "another impossibility. We've detected your surveillance drones in our system." Again. Zarthok drew himself up to his full imposing height. "I am Grand Admiral Zarthok of the Valerian Imperial Fleet. By decree of Emperor Volkar the Eternal, this system falls within the expansion zone of the Empire. Your presence here is irrelevant to us," Captain Chen interrupted smoothly. "We're aware of your expansion zones. We're also aware of what happened to the Kelthari, the Proxians, and the Deltan colonies. We've reviewed your standard conquest protocol. It's quite thorough. The Admiral's scales rippled with anger at being interrupted, but something in the human's tone made him hesitate. She wasn't posturing. She was stating facts. Then you understand the futility of resistance, he said, trying to regain control of the conversation. Actually, Admiral, we're here to discuss the futility of your aggression. Captain Chen gestured off-screen, and the tactical display on the Endeavour's bridge became visible behind her. It showed not just the Imperial fleet in this system, but every Valerian military installation within 20 light-years. We've been monitoring your empire for the past decade. Your fleet deployments, your logistics chains, your command structure. We know where every one of your ships is right now. Zarthok felt ice forming in his veins. A decade? But humans hadn't even left their solar system a decade ago. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Shall we test that? Captain Shen's smile didn't reach her eyes. Your flagship, the Inevitable Conquest, is currently in the Altair system with a complement of 247 vessels. Your supply depot at Kepler 442 is operating at 63% capacity due to a labor shortage. And your personal quarters on the orbital fortress above Valoria Prime feature a rather impressive collection of Terran jazz recordings, which, I must say, shows excellent taste. The bridge fell silent. Zarthok's 4 hearts hammered in his chest. No one outside the highest command should know these details. No one. How? He whispered. We learned from watching you, Admiral. The Empire has been very instructive. You taught us exactly what happens to species that don't advance quickly enough. Captain Chen's expression hardened. So we advanced. We unified. We took every scattered piece of human ingenuity and focused it on a single goal, making sure we'd never be victims. 15 cycles. 14 cycles, Admiral. And you'd be surprised what motivated humans can accomplish when extinction is the alternative. We cracked quantum computing. We solved fusion. We mapped hyperspace. We built AI that could design ships we couldn't even imagine. And we did it all while you watched and waited, planning your invasion like we were livestock. Zarthok looked at his tactical display again, seeing the human ships with new eyes. They weren't just advanced, they were beyond anything the Empire had encountered in 3 millennia of conquest. What do you want? He asked, his voice hoarse. We want you to leave. Take your ships, abandon your expansion zone, and never return to human space. Tell your Emperor that Earth is off the menu. Permanently. And if we refuse? Captain Chen leaned forward slightly. Then we'll demonstrate why our ship is called the Endeavour. Because, Admiral, we've endeavored to ensure that any species threatening humanity will deeply regret it. Your choice, leave peacefully, or we'll dismantle your fleet so thoroughly that your empire will spend the next century wondering what happened here. The silence stretched between them. Zarthok looked at his officers, veterans all, warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. He saw fear in their eyes. They knew, as he did, that everything had changed. We'll withdraw, he said quietly. Captain Chen nodded. A wise decision. And Admiral? Tell your Emperor that humanity is willing to trade, to share knowledge, to coexist peacefully. But we will never kneel. We've spent too long fighting our way up from the darkness to surrender now. The transmission ended. Zarthok slumped in his command throne, suddenly feeling all of his 2 centuries of age. Begin withdrawal procedures, he ordered. Full retreat from human space. As his fleet turned away from Earth, Zarthok wondered what kind of species could transform themselves so completely, so quickly. The answer, he realized, was one that had stared into the abyss and refused to blink first. The Empire would survive this. But it would never forget the day it learned that humanity was not prey. They were predators in disguise.